someone going through grief,
loss,
the last thing you want to say to them is, I understand what you're going through. You don't.
Because you don't.
Yeah. The last thing is, well, you just need to do this, this, and this. They don't need to be told what to do. They really need that empathetic approach to begin with. That, wow, it's really tough. I don't know how you feel. I don't know how you're going through it. I'm here for you. Yeah. But I'm sure not going to.
Does that make a difference?
Yes.
It does.
Because it just says, wow, someone is there for me. They don't understand what I'm going through, but they understand what I'm going through is hard. Okay. It's difficult, and they'll come back and talk to you later on. But at the time, just to be that person that is steady and is there with them.
Yeah, I think another thing that happens is that they lose some friends along the way, isn't it? Because if you start acting out of character consistently over a long time, most people at some point will just back off and leave you alone.
Yeah, they don't know how to handle it. Yeah. Because what happened to my friend? Oh, they just changed. They're no longer like that. Yeah. I don't even know if I like that person anymore.
Or why I ever liked them in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you go about, as a friend who is looking at this person who's going through this depression and they're acting completely different? How can you support them without injuring yourself in the process?
I think part of it is to understand it's not personal. Oh. You know, hey, I know you're going through a hard time. I know you're saying some things, doing things. But you know what? I am not going to take it personally as a personal attack on us, on our friendship. I understand you're going through some difficult times, and you're going to act some screwy ways. Yeah. Okay. So
I'll insulate myself.
So that's okay. Yeah. I'm not going to react. You know, one thing about, and this came out of emotional intelligence, every emotion we have has a message.
Yes.
Okay?
It has data.
There's data in that emotion. Yeah. And so if that emotion comes from you to me, very often what we do is react emotionally to the emotion. If we can decode what your message is, and then choose an appropriate response in our emotion back to you.
We break the cycle.
We break the cycle.
Wow. That's really
Again,
powerful.
most of us simply, we're just...
And it gets worse.
And it gets worse and it builds because of our emotion. Yeah. Because we're not aware, oh, wow, there's a message. Yeah. If that person is sad, there's a message. Wow, they really have lost something. They've lost something significantly, a significant relationship, a value.
So we should stop looking at the emotional output
and look at the message that is coming,
from
through the emotion. What the emotion itself is saying to us.
Like if they're being insensitive, and that's making us angry. Yeah. Then we look at what is it that is causing them to be insensitive. Yeah.
You see, we generate our emotions.
Yeah, true.
Now, which means I can't ever say to you, Mona, you made me mad. Mona, you made me sad. Yeah. You caused me to feel this way.
Yeah, but you can't make me.
Yeah.
You can't make me.
You can't cause me.
Okay.
You can provoke me. But I have a choice in how I'm going to engage emotionally. Yes. Because we generate our own emotions.
Okay. And that is based on, again, overriding the emotion and going to what's behind it.
What's behind it. Okay. Now, again, I'm not taking anything away from CI, chemical imbalance, not taking anything away from an affective disorder, but most of us don't have to deal with that.
That's true. That's the exception.
If we think we are, then we need to see a medical doctor, we need to see a psychologist, psychiatrist, and verify that. Yeah.
But if it's an everyday cycle that humans go through, then okay.
Right.
Okay. Now you keep mentioning MBTI, and I sort of know what that is, but I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, huh? Okay. So break that down for us. What is that exactly?
MBTI stands for the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator.
Okay.
Okay. It's a way of looking at how you're hardwired, so to speak, in terms of when you're born. Okay. It looks at 4 different aspects of your life. It looks at how do you get energy? How do you get energized in life? And where do you focus?
How do you get motivated?
Yeah, and how do you focus that energy in your life? It looks at how we take in information. Then it looks at how we make decisions based upon the information we take in. And then it also looks at how do we posture ourselves toward life. All of us have to deal with the external world. How do we deal with it? And basically there are two dichotomies, kind of like a North Pole, South Pole, kind of like a right hand, left hand, that we tend to default to. I'm right-handed, okay?
Yeah, I'm left-handed.
When my cup may be over here, but when I reach for it, I'm naturally going to reach for it with my right hand. Yeah. Can I reach for it with my left hand?
Yes.
Sure.
But uncomfortably.
Yes. It's less natural. It's more natural to do this. Again, in terms of how do we take in information, there's a right hand, left hand, two ways. I'm more comfortable doing this. I'm less comfortable doing that.
Okay.
We talked about you being intuitive.
Yes.
Okay. Does that mean you don't notice details? No.
I do.
You do notice details. But when you take in information, typically you would take in information in a big picture way.
Exactly. The feeling, the gut.
The hunch.
The picture. The hunch, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I always tell people I don't think in a straight line. I think in like circles.
That's
I think in stories. Tell me a story and I'll get it.
That's right.
Tell me facts and...
There are other people that think linearly.
Exactly.
And they think point upon point upon point. And they often probably ask you, how did you get there?
Exactly. It's like, well...
Yeah. Now, those are two different ways of taking in information. Both are good. Both are positive. Nothing wrong with either one. You can do both, but you prefer one over the other.
Exactly. Yeah.
What the MBTI does is it measures our choice. Okay, it's an assessment that looks at what our default is.
Okay. So if we were to take that into depression, for instance, or how we respond to hopelessness and all that, I always feel my personality type makes me more predisposed to feeling this way, only because everything for me is internalized. So would you say that is true, like different personality types would be less prone to long-term hopelessness than some? And are some personality types, is it easier for them to come out of it than some?
I don't know. I mean, I have not, I'll be honest, I have not looked at the research there. I will say just from personal experience, okay, in dealing with an individual who was their S, how they take in information, was their dominant preference.
Okay.
Their intuitiveness was their least developed.
Okay.
Okay, because there's a hierarchy which I won't go into, but there's a hierarchy of what is the most developed in our life, what is the least developed.
What does S stand for?
Your sensory.
Sensory. Okay.
As opposed to the intuitive.
Okay.
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 So their S was number 1, their intuitiveness was number 4.
Okay.
Okay. Under grief and stress, it flipped. And because the N was the least developed, they were very prone to then looking at a bleak future, hopelessness, and depression.
I see.
In that case, does their personality play a part? Yes, but only because it reversed.
Okay.
There is a phrase we call "in the grip," and in the grip, it's kind of like the North Pole becomes the South Pole Pole becomes the North Pole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so everything is reversed. Then they were more prone to depression.
Okay.
But I can't say that typically any of the 16 different types are more prone.
Yeah.
I haven't done the research on it. I don't know of any research on it. I don't know that would necessarily be true because all of us have weaknesses and growth areas. All of us have strengths.
Okay.
So I think it's more in terms of how we look at
how we deal with it after that.
How we deal with it.
It's really interesting what you're saying, because if I use what you're saying, if somebody, let's use a sanguine for instance, is a sanguine, which means they hardly ever, or it's not natural for them to keep looking inward, and they go through this difficult thing and it flips, and suddenly they're looking inward, it might actually be more difficult for that sanguine to deal with that than a melancholic who is used to looking inward anyway.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I've never thought of it that way.
Of the 4 preferences, we typically develop the first 2, the first half of our life in a very decided form.
Okay.
We call it and the other 2 are less developed. Now, are they there? Yes.
Yes.
Do they function in our life? Yes. Are they more hidden? Yes. Kind of like the right hand, left hand.
Yeah.
My right is more developed, but my left sure does everything. Okay. Typically, the latter part of our life, we develop what we call a tertiary and inferior function.
Okay. Okay.
Think of the first 2 functions, the dominant and auxiliary function. One is like the general, and the other is like his aide. Okay. And so the general is out there and he's directing everything, and the aide is the one who is helping.
Okay.
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 But then we've got the third and the fourth.
Okay. So the dominant part of us is the general.
The general is the preference that is most
So for
developed.
me, the intuitive.
Actually, I think, I have to double check, but I think your dominant is your feeling.
Feeling, that is true.
But
actually.
your feeling is introverted, which
That
means
is true.
people do not see that about you.
That's actually true.
Okay,
Yeah.
people don't really see that Mona is a very sensitive person. She really functions based on her internal value system.
Yeah.
And they don't.
That's true.
And you create a comprehensive whole inside, typically, to give you direction and tell you what's
what
important
to do
in life.
and which way to go. That is true.
What people see is the big picture, Mona, with all of the future possibilities and plans.
Let's
let's
go
do that.
here.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
So that is what is extroverted. It is not
That
your.
is true.
It's really not your
My
dominant.
base, my core.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is your auxiliary. It would
Okay.
be like in your case, the general's in a tent and the aide is out with the troops. Okay?
On the ground.
On the ground. But the general's in there making all the plans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay. So, again, what the MBTI does is help you to understand some things about yourself. So then, how do you function then?
And this is something that can help us deal, not just in the low times of our lives, but in life in general, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because again, it doesn't dictate your behavior, but it sure impacts your typical behavior.
And it makes you aware. What if I'm bringing it now into my own personal life, especially again because we're talking about depression?
Okay.
What are some of the things I particularly would look out for when I start getting into the doldrums?
Part of emotional intelligence is being aware of what is going on inside of us. Okay, so you're aware of what you're feeling.
Yes.
You're then beginning to ask the questions, what is leading to that feeling?
Yeah.
What am I thinking? What has been said? What are the triggers?
What am I believing?
What am I believing?
Yeah.
And if I'm not really sure, who can I go to help them
to break this
draw
down
that
for
out
me.
of me?
Yes.
Because a lot of times, the beauty of a coach is a coach does not have to know what the issue is.
Yeah.
The coach simply has to be able to ask the right questions so
To
that
draw it
you
out.
can discover for yourself
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
Without my telling you. I don't know what's going on in your life. But you're the best one to do
To know that,
But I
yes.
can draw that out
Yeah.
by asking the kind of questions that you may not normally ask.
Yeah. Okay.
To help you begin to look at those details. So when you begin to notice some of boy, I'm really feeling down, I'm feeling kind of hopeless, I don't see any solution to this, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just tired, I don't want to go on.
Yeah.
Okay, you begin to be aware of that and go, oh, okay, I think I'm going to talk to somebody.
I see.
I think I'm going to begin to process that.
Okay.
Some of us can process it inside, to be aware,
need.
and some need to process it
Okay.
verbally with somebody else.
I actually like what you've said because I think it kind of wraps up a lot of what we've been discussing today. So you're saying, typically when somebody starts to have all these thoughts of hopelessness, of there's no way out, of it is so bleak, the number one thing that you should do once you recognize these thoughts is stop, either self-analyze or analyze it with somebody else. First of all, without trying to find an answer.
Yeah. And if you begin to self-analyze and all you come up with are more of the same, you need definitely to get somebody else. I remember what I said originally. We talk to ourselves, but if it's self-contained, we're only going to come up with the same answers.
Okay.
So we do need to talk to somebody else.
Okay. Okay. And is depression something that you can overcome? I know somebody asked me this today. Do you think it's something that you can actually overcome, or do you think at some point it's something that you just keep having to watch out for and steer away from it?
I think every instance you can overcome because we have choice.
Okay.
And we can look at the situation, and we don't have to necessarily give in to those feelings of hopelessness. Now, will all those feelings come to us throughout our life? Yes. Okay, I wish I could say,
that's
well,
the good news.
if you get through it one time, well, I'll never have to deal with this
or
again.
anytime it shows up, you'll snap your fingers and boom, it's gone.
No, it's a learning process. And again, this is assuming it's not a chemical imbalance, and it's not an affective disorder.
Okay.
It's just what we're normally talking about in terms of depression.
Yeah.
If it's a chemical imbalance, then there are medication that you can take to try to put that serotonin level back into balance in your life. You still have to make the choices
to do it
in terms of a lifestyle, but that can at least help you to again get to a balanced area where it's not impacting your thinking. Okay. Now, not with depression, but my wife, after our fourth child, was in the hospital. She was bleeding internally. Wow. They gave her massive doses of steroids. Okay. And she actually developed what was called steroid psychosis. Okay. Which is a psychotic state based on the chemical, on the steroid. What's happening? Yeah. Yeah. As soon as she was off the steroids, she went back to normal again. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you can have a chemically induced state, and when everything changes in your brain, you may need something to bring it back. Yeah. It may. Yes. I don't know whether it permanently changes it, but at least it will bring you back to a balance where you can function again. So again, I think we need to realize, without a stigma attached to it, that there has been. It's a function of the body. It's a body function of the body. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I may take a medicine because I have headache. A headache. Well, acidity. Yeah. Yeah. Or I may take something for I had too much to eat. Yes. Okay. There's no stigma there. I really like that. I really like how you put that, because it's just a function. The body is functioning a certain way. Yeah. I ate too much. I'm going to do this. I have a headache. I'm going to do this. Well, if I've changed the level of my brain chemistry, I may need to do something at least to bring it back to a balance, even if it doesn't totally change it back, so then you go off the medication, at least it changes it back to a steady, manageable place. Okay. And you're saying that how somebody can tell the difference whether it's a clinical imbalance or affective disorder vis-a-vis the normal life things that we go through. Is it about the length of time? It's about the length of time and the degree, yes. And the degree. Yeah. Okay. So if you've been in the state for a prolonged time, the best advice is see a specialist. I would see a specialist to at least get somebody else's a diagnosis of some sort. Right. So for somebody who doesn't have the ability to come to a life coach, or the everyday person who doesn't even necessarily know what a life coach is, what would you tell them? Which door can they walk into and say, I have this problem? I would start now just building healthy relationships with friends. Okay. And learning how to be a friend who is non-judgmental, and who can be there for you during the tough times, not just the good times. Yeah, and shine a light. Shine a light for you. And have a relationship where both of you are walking in authenticity, where you're not afraid to catalyze that authenticity by being real with one another. Yeah. If we begin to develop those kind of relationships, then when we're going through something that's tough, we have a support system.
That's true.
We have people who we can be authentic with them, they can be authentic with us. We've got some proven time with them. It's safe.
It's safe, yeah.
The time to develop it is now, not when we're going through a crisis later on.
It's like they say, dig your well before you need the water.
Before you need the water.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a lot we can do in being a friend for others so that when somebody else needs that help, they can come to us. But in the process, as we're doing that, they'll be available for us too.
And before we go, just quickly recap for me, A, B, C, D.
A is activating event, B is belief system, C is consequential feeling, D is desired behavior. Desired
behavior. Okay. And that is how we typically operate based on an action that has happened, what we believe about it, what we feel about it, and how we act. So if we know that and if we put that together, then you said the magic is in the B.
Is in the B.
What we believe about what has happened.
When we believe the truth, it will change how we feel, which will impact how we act.
I love it.
Okay, you're welcome.
I know this is quite a broad topic and we've probably just kind of like just touched on it. But for everybody who's watching, I think one of the most important things that Dr. Les has said is have a support system, number one, so that anybody who is really close to you can always tell when you start going a bit off. You know, they can tell and they can try and lead you back. Have a support system. And number two, have that self-awareness, build self-awareness within yourself so that even for you, the minute you start, you know, I'm acting differently, I'm angrier, I'm more irritable, stop and assess that. And if you find you've been in a place for so long where you feel completely hopeless and nothing seems to be able to get you out of it, look for somebody, find some help, look for somebody to talk to, look for somebody to stand with you. It can be a professional, it could be just a friend, a family member, anybody, and help them, allow them to help you get out of it by guiding you home. It is not an easy thing. It is something that a lot of people go through. But there is help. As Dr. Les has said, it is not a permanent situation. Of course, we do have the clinical ones and the affective disorders. We have that. But outside of that, it is not necessarily a permanent. Yeah. There is a solution to everything. Yes. So that is what we are saying today on Life with Mona. There is a solution. There is a way out. There is a light.
There is hope.
There is hope. Ooh, I like that. There is hope. There is hope. So let's keep talking. Let's look further into the topic. Let's keep discussing. Let's be open. Let's be real. Thank you so much for watching. This is Life with Mona. See you next time.